What's up guys, Meredith with ExtremeTerrain.com, and today we are checking out the Bestop Track Top Slant Back Soft Top in a black twill material, fitting all 2021 and newer two-door Ford Broncos. Now if you currently have a hardtop and want a big upgrade for a more flexible lifestyle in your Bronco, or you have a factory soft top, whether it's damaged or in good shape and you want an all-around better replacement, this is going to be a great addition to your build. This will be a thick and premium soft top choice for the Bronco owner who's looking for a long-lasting and versatile soft top that's going to transform to their lifestyle while maintaining a sharp appearance with that sporty slant back look. Now, coming with everything you need, this will offer a swift transition from a hard top to a soft top and will make all the difference for you and your passengers if you enjoy those open air drives and want to experience it more freely and more often. Now this won't just be a soft top to cover up your cabin, but will transform into multiple configurations for whatever you're feeling that day, regardless if you want a fully opened top or partially opened. Now starting with the flip back Sunrider feature with two easy to pull spring latches on this header here, you can release this top and fold it back into itself on the sports bar, exposing the front and rear seats for a convertible style feel. And the windows all around the back will be fully connected by a C-channel and have a complete zipperless design, making it hassle-free to remove those for an open air experience. Now with the windows removed, you can still close the top portion of the top, or the front portion of the top, should I say, so you can have coverage but more free-flowing air, getting kind of the best of both worlds with a safari-style setup. Now it won't go all the way back down onto the tailgate like the factory one, but the benefit there is that with the position high up on the sports bar, this will be out of the way, so you can get in and out of your cargo area very easily while still enjoying that fully open experience. Now the factory one does have that square back look and can only be taken off as a full unit, as to where this comes with that edgy slant back look, and it can be broken down part for part, making it very easy to work with and again customizable to your lifestyle. It also gets some mesh pockets in the front for storage above the driver and passenger seat, which is a small but very useful feature. This will have a deep black twill construction and a lightweight black powder coated steel frame to keep the fabric taut and supported. Now the twill will be weatherproof woven acrylic, boasting a very long lifespan compared to other materials, and underneath this will have a rubber layer, and the final layer that you're looking at here on the inside is a polyester fabric that you'll see on the inside of the top for durability and additional thermal and sound insulation. Now like I mentioned, this will also have tough plastic C-channels for the windows, so you're not gonna have to worry about any annoying zippers, and the corner windows will have thick plastic supports to maintain the slanted shape in the rear. This will be a premium top coming in at about $2,100. Now this is in the more expensive price range due to the material and the options this soft top allows, being transformable and heavier weight for better insulation if you prefer a quiet and a little bit more comfortable ride than the thinner factory soft top. Now again, if you are looking for a top that's going to last and change easily to your lifestyle, the weather, or however you're feeling that day, then this is going to be a solid pick for you. Install is a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, not necessarily because it's difficult, but it's just a longer and more tedious process, probably taking about 4 hours, give or take, to complete the job. I do also want to make note that the top is going to fit and stretch the best when it's left out in the sun, or if it's around 70+ degree weather. Colder temps are not going to allow the fabric to stretch as much, so heat is going to be your friend here. Now at this point, we can head over to our shop, check out a detailed breakdown on how you can get this installed on your two-door Bronco at home. So that's going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, flathead screwdriver, a plastic pry tool, a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters, an extension, T30, 40, and 50 millimeter Torx sockets, 5 millimeter Allen socket, and a few alcohol wipes. What's up guys? Today we're installing a soft top on our Bronco, so let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is remove our hardtop. So the first thing we're going to do is hop into the driver's seat and start taking off our roof panels. So from the driver's seat, we have our 2 roof panels here. Now the driver's side is going to have to come off first because it overlaps the passenger side. So we have these 4 latches that we need to undo, and we can pop our panel off. Those 4 latches are going to be exactly the same on the other side, just mirrored. So these we're going to twist to unlock. And then this last one that's different than the other 3, we're going to pull down on. And with all of our latches released, we can push up on this and remove it. And then you can do that same thing for your other roof panel. Next, we can come to the back driver's side corner. We have a window washer fluid line and an electrical connector that we're going to have to disconnect. Now you have a nice spot down here to plug those in so that you keep them out of the way. So we're going to push in on that black tab on the connector and disconnect it. And then we can pull this down and plug it into that slot. And then for the washer line, we're going to press in the silver tab, pull it out, and we can hook it onto that little nipple. Next, we can come along our side window. We have 4 T50 Torx bolts that we have to remove. The first one is closer to the front of the Bronco, and the other 3 are in the back. So I'll take a T50 Torx socket to pop these out. Now our last bolt's tucked away in the corner behind our roll bar. The same T50 Torx socket to remove it. And then repeat that same process on the other side. So now we can come to the top of our hardtop. We're going to be looking for the bolt that's closest to the hardtop, and we're going to remove that with the same T50 Torx socket. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. So now we've got everything unbolted and we're ready to lift our hardtop off of the Bronco. I've got myself a buddy to lift up the other side because this is kind of bulky. So we'll lift this up and get it out of the way. So the first thing we need to do is lay down some protective pads so that we don't scratch up our paint. Now these are stuck down with adhesive, so what we're going to do first is take an alcohol wipe to wipe down the surface so that we get a good bond. We're wiping all along this side rail here. Now if you don't have alcohol pads, you can do that exact same thing with a 50-50 mix of isopropyl alcohol and water with a clean microfiber towel. So now these adhesive pads come in 2 pieces. We have the first section and then the section that's going to go on the back. So for this front one, you're going to want to line up your 2 holes here as well as these little fender bolts. And then once you do, this backing's split in half so you can peel off one side. And then we'll line everything up. Once you have everything lined up, you can go ahead and stick that down. And then we'll peel back the other side of our backing. And then lay that down. And now we can get our second piece. This is going to line up just like this with all of these holes as well as our 2 fender bolts. And then same thing, we'll just peel back that liner. Line up our holes. And then stick that down. And then pop off the other side. And lay that down. And then you can repeat that same process on the other side. Next, we're going to be installing this weather seal. This is going to run from the crease here between the door and the quarter panel and run all the way back to where this meets up to the tailgate. So So we're gonna peel the backing off of this, and then we can start to lay this down. Now once we get to the end here, we're gonna cut off the excess with a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters. I'm just gonna cut this flush to the end of that quarter panel. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're gonna take a T30 Torx socket and remove these 3 bolts to install our cover that's going here. Now we're not going to be reusing those 3 bolts. We have 3 new ones that we're going to use. So we're going to install our cover. And then we're taking our M6 by 1 by 30 bolts and threading those into that same hole. And then we'll take that same T30 Torx socket and tighten all of these down. And now do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're gonna add this foam pad to the top of the piece that we just installed. So we're gonna peel off this backing, and then you can kind of see where it goes based on the shape. So we'll just line that up and stick it down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're gonna have to add our corner pieces. So to do this, we're gonna have to pop out this panel a little bit to get to the bolt hole that's behind it. So we have this little filler panel here that I'm gonna pop off first with a plastic pry tool. And we'll pop that out. And we can get that same pry tool in here to pop our panel back. And now we have enough access to get our piece in there. So now we can slide this tailgate retainer into place. We have this tab that's gonna go in between the panel here, and there's a bolt hole that we're gonna use to hold this down. We'll slide that into place, and then we're gonna take an M6 by 1 by 15 bolt, and we're gonna thread it into that hole. And then for our other 2 threads, we're gonna use our factory bolts that we pulled out of our hardtop to hold this down. Now we can take our factory hardtop bolts and thread those into those factory locations. And then we'll take a T50 Torx socket and tighten those down. Now with those 2 bolts tightened down, we can pull out this inner panel and tighten down our other bolt with a T30 Torx socket. And then we just need to put our clips back into place. So we'll just push in on that. Now the little filler panel that went around the roll bar isn't gonna fit with this piece installed, so you can just put that in a safe place. Next, we have this foam block that we're gonna slide into our tailgate retainer. And then you can repeat that whole process for the tailgate retainer on the other side. Next, we need to install our side window retainers, but first we need to add a felt strip to this. Now there's this edge that overhangs the other one. It's gonna go on the top of this edge. So I'm just gonna lay this down. I'm gonna take my felt strip, peel off the backing here. And then we can start laying it on that edge and run it all the way across. And then once we get to the other side, we'll take a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters and cut off the excess. Now we can lay this down in place. The smaller tab's gonna line up with this rivet. And then our other 2 are gonna line up with our factory hardtop mounting holes. So we're gonna be reusing those hardtop bolts. And then up at our riv nut, we're gonna use an M6 by 1 by 15 bolt. Now we can grab a T50 Torx socket to tighten down our 2 factory bolts, and then a T30 Torx socket for our new bolt. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can install this rail above our driver's side door. So we're gonna line this up. We have 2 factory bolts here and here that we're gonna have to remove, and then we're gonna put them back in. Now the only difference being on this one, we're gonna add a 5mm spacer underneath the bracket on this rail. So now we can take a T50 Torx socket and pop these 2 bolts out. And now we'll grab that rail and lay it down into place. We'll take that spacer and drop it there. Now you have 2 different bolts here, a longer and a shorter. The shorter's going up front and the longer's staying with the spacer. So make sure you don't mix those up. And then we'll grab that T50 Torx socket again and tighten these down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're gonna install the bracket that's right behind the one that we just installed. So we're gonna be reusing our factory bolt from our hardtop for this front hole, and then we have an Allen bolt for this back one. Now, just like with the piece in front of it, we're gonna be using a spacer on this bracket. So we'll put that spacer down and then line up our hole and get that bolt started. And then we're gonna take our Allen bolt and thread into the threaded hole in the rear. And then we'll grab our T50 Torx socket for our front bolt. And then we'll switch to a 5mm Allen socket for our back one. And then do that same thing on the other side. Now we can come back to the 2 threaded holes behind the bracket that we just installed, and we're gonna be installing our control link bracket. So we're using those same Allen bolts, thread into these holes. And then we'll take that 5mm Allen socket and tighten these down. And then repeat the same process on the other side. Next, we can install our rear halo mounting bracket. So we're gonna be using our T40 bolts. Thread those into these holes. And then grab a T40 Torx socket, tighten these down. And you can do that same thing on the other side. So now we can start working on assembling our soft top. The first thing we're gonna do is install these front side rails. So I'm at the front of the soft top here. We've got the latches facing up. It's flipped over once. And now we're gonna flip this over again. And that's gonna expose these 2 threaded holes. So we're gonna take our bracket so that we have this L shape in this orientation. We'll lay that down onto those threaded holes, and we'll take 2 M6 by 1 by 20 bolts, thread those into these holes, and then we're gonna take a T30 Torx socket. You're gonna make sure that the fabric is out from under there so you don't pinch it, and then we'll tighten these down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can install our 1.5 bow. Now on our ends, we have a slot in here that's gonna slide over our first mounting bracket on our 2 side arms. So we're gonna slide those into place. And then we're gonna grab our shoulder bolts to tighten that down. Now with this bow laid down, you wanna make sure that this bracket is facing down or opposite of this bracket. And then you can slide your bolt in and take a T30 Torx socket to tighten that down. And then do that same thing on the other side, and then you can fold this up. Next, we're gonna do pretty much that exact same thing with our number 2 bow, except for this one, you want that bracket facing up instead of down. So we'll slide that into the second mounting bracket, and then we can install our bolts. So now we'll use that same shoulder bolt, thread that in and take a T30 Torx socket to tighten it down. Next, we can install our control linkage. This is gonna link our two arms together. We're gonna slide this over our mounting tab and thread in another one of those shoulder bolts. And then once again, we'll take that T30 Torx socket and tighten them both down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Now with our bows assembled, we can fold this down flat and then we're gonna flip this over. Next, we're gonna add a foam pad to our number one bow. So we'll peel off that backing paper and then line this up and lay it down. And then do that same thing on the other side. So now we're ready to lift our soft top onto the Bronco. I've got myself a buddy here to help me lift it up. We're gonna put our number one bow up against the windshield. That's the one with the latches. And then the rest of the soft top, we're gonna fold over the windshield so that we can bolt down the rest of our frame. Now that we have our soft top lifted onto the Bronco, we're gonna be mounting our side rail here to this bracket. Once again, this has the slot in the middle, so we're gonna slide that over here, line up our hole, and get another one of our shoulder bolts to thread into the other side. And then we'll take a T30 Torx socket to tighten that down and do the same thing on the other side. Now we can install our next linkage. Now this has a longer straight section and a shorter one. The shorter one is going towards the rear and the longer is going towards the front. Now this little bend here, you want it kicking out towards the outside of the vehicle like that. So we're gonna slide this onto the number two bow as well as this bracket that we installed earlier. And then same thing, those shoulder bolts. We'll line up our holes, thread those in. And then take our T30 Torx socket to tighten these down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Now we're gonna pick up our soft top off of the windshield and the hood, and we're gonna stretch it back to the rear of the Bronco. Next, we're gonna have to connect these bars on the rear of our soft top to our halo bracket here. Now, to get a little more slack on our soft top, I pulled up from the front. You can go in the driver's seat, just push straight up on the soft top, and you can get it to fold like this. Now, this bracket is gonna go inside the halo bracket. We have two of our M6x1x15 bolts that are gonna go from the outside in and go into these threads. Might be a little bit hard to see once we get this flipped over, but that's what we're gonna be doing. Now at the same time, you're gonna wanna make sure that you get it inside of the halo bracket on the other side, and then you can pull up here and thread your bolt in. Cut. And now with that bolt threaded in, we can grab a T30 Torx socket with a little bit of an extension. And now for our forward facing one, we have a lot more room here with the soft top up. So I'm just gonna pull the fabric out of the way, make sure we don't pinch it in there. And take T30 Torx socket and tighten that one down. And then repeat that same process on the other side. Next, we can attach our quarter window mounting rail up to this eyelet for our soft top. So we have this screw. We have half going in through the front, half going in through the back. Now it's really hard to get this tightened down really tight, so they include some red Loctite in the kit. So you would apply this to the threads on the one side. For demonstration purposes, we're not gonna be doing this. However, you can just crack this bottle open, just put a little bit, you don't need a lot, right onto the threads, and tighten it down with a flathead screwdriver. And then we can put this little eyelet over that. And then we'll take the screw side and thread it in. And now I'm gonna hold it on the back side with my finger and take a flathead screwdriver just to get it tightened down as much as I can. And now we can raise this up into place, and we're gonna be bolting it down to our 2 brackets here. So now we can bolt this rail down. We have 2 nuts on each of these brackets that we're gonna be threading our bolts into, and 2 holes over here. So we'll line that up with our bracket and thread our bolts in. And now we'll take a T30 Torx socket and tighten down those 4 bolts. Now we're gonna pull our soft top down and latch on the 2 factory latches. So we'll get that hook into that latch, and then we can close it up. And we'll just do the same thing on the other side. Next we can install our rear window. I folded up the fabric on this back part to expose the channel that this rod on our window is gonna run through. So you're gonna start at the side. We're gonna get up underneath this bracket and slide that in until it's even on both sides. Next, we can install our tailgate retainer bar. We have this channel on the front where we have that same kind of rod on the underside of the bottom of our rear window. So we're gonna slide this in. You wanna make sure that these 2 brackets are in this orientation facing down, so that they can slot into these receivers. So now we're just gonna take that rod, slide it into our channel and across to the other side. And then we can pop this into our end. Now we're gonna repeat pretty much the same process with our side windows. We have this, it's gonna slide into the channel here. The only difference is in our corner piece. We have these protrusions. The bottom one's gonna go into here. The top one's gonna slide into here. But we're gonna do that after this. So I'm folding that out of the way first. And then we can fold this back. And we're gonna line those up with those 2 notches. Now we can hop inside. We have this red strap with a button that's gonna go right here. Next, we're gonna have to tuck this flap into this little ridge here. So we're gonna fold that up and under, just like that, and then we can move towards the front. Now at the front, we're gonna have to do that same thing. We have this, that's gonna slide into this gap. So we're gonna get it over, and then you'll have to wrestle it a little bit. And now we'll do that same thing across the bottom here. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Now we can come to our rear window and take our bottom retaining bar and pop it into the clips here. We'll line it up on both sides and then just give it a push. And then we have our flap that's gonna connect to this corner piece here. And then do that same thing on the other side. So now we need to fold down the top of our soft top and Velcro along the sides. And now we can go inside where we have a few more Velcro straps to Velcro down. So now on our number 2 and number 1.5 bows, we have our Velcro straps. So we'll just work from one end to the other, Velcroing these down. And then there's one more towards the back above the roll bar. And now right above the roll bar here, we have our last one. A little bit harder to get to. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Bestop Trek Top Slant Back Soft Top in black twill for your 2021 and newer two-door Bronco. Thank you for watching, and for all things Bronco, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.